Hey everyone, and welcome. We're going to tackle a question that's at the absolute heart of finance. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most complex things to answer. How much is something really worth? For companies all over the globe, the answer isn't just a wild guess. It's guided by one powerful global rulebook, IFRS 13.
I mean, it seems like a straightforward question, doesn't it? But think about it. When you're dealing with huge global companies that own everything from skyscrapers in New York to complex financial instruments in Singapore, that simple question gets incredibly complicated fast. To make the whole global market actually work, we absolutely need a single, reliable way to answer it.
So, what's the official answer to this massive valuation puzzle? Well, let's dive right in and look at how the global standard, IFRS 13, defines this super important concept. Okay, this sentence right here, this is pretty much the foundation for everything we're going to talk about, and every single word in it is chosen so carefully. Notice it says the price you'd receive to sell, which is totally different from what you might have paid to buy it. And it has to be an orderly transaction, so not a desperate going out of business fire sale. And it's all based on what market participants, rational, independent buyers and sellers would agree on, all at one specific point in time.
So, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. Fair value is not about looking in the rearview mirror. It couldn't care less what you paid for an asset 5 years ago. Nope. It is a market-based measurement, and it is focused 100% on the present, specifically the price you would get if you sold it today. And this little chart just makes it crystal clear. The entry price, that's your history. It's what you paid. But the exit price, that's what the market says it's worth right now. And fair value is always about that exit price. It's a really fundamental shift in thinking, right? Moving from the past to the present. Okay, so we've got the what. We know what fair value is, but how do you actually go about calculating it in a way that's consistent and reliable? Well, that's where the IFRS 13 measurement framework comes in. It gives us a clear roadmap. So the standard lays out some really important ground rules. First, the valuation has to be specific to the asset's actual condition and location. You also have to make sure you're looking at the right market. And this is a big one. It assumes the deal involves independent, knowledgeable parties who are ready to transact. This is all to make sure the value reflects the broad market, not just what it's worth to one specific company. Now, when we talk about the right market, IFRS 13 has a really clear pecking order. You always have to start with the principal market. Think of it as the main hub, the place with the most trading activity for that asset, like the London Stock Exchange for a major UK stock. It's only if a market like that doesn't exist that you can then look for the most advantageous market, which is just a fancy way of saying whichever market gets you the best net price after you pay for shipping and transaction costs. All right. Now we're getting to what might be the most famous and practical part of IFRS 13. It's a system that brings a beautiful sense of order to the sometimes chaotic world of valuation data. It's called the fair value hierarchy. The entire point of this hierarchy is to rank the quality of your data, what the standard calls inputs. It's basically a quality control system for your valuation. This way, when a company says something is worth X, we know exactly how they got that number and how reliable it is. At the very top, we have level 1. This is the gold standard. It's a quoted price for an identical item in an active market. Think of a stock price. You can look it up in seconds. It's the most reliable data, hands down. Then there's level 2. Here, you're still using observable data, but it's for similar assets. So imagine you're trying to value an office building. You'd look at the recent sale price of a comparable building nearby. It's solid information, but you'll probably need to make a few adjustments. And finally, we have level 3. This is what you use when there's no good market data. Here, a company has to use its own models and forecasts. So, as you can imagine, this involves the most judgment and, of course, the most uncertainty. And here is the absolute golden rule of the hierarchy. A valuation is only as strong as its weakest link. If you're using a mix of inputs from different levels, the entire valuation gets classified based on the most significant lowest level input you used. So even if 99% of your data is level 1 gold, if you use just one significant level 3 assumption, bam, the whole thing is classified as level 3. It's all about total transparency about where the real guesswork is. Let's switch gears just a little and look at a really fascinating concept that applies to non-financial assets, things like land, buildings, and equipment. It's this idea called highest and best use. So, to get our heads around this, just imagine a simple parking lot, but it's in a prime central London location. Is its fair value just the money it makes from parking cars every day? Well, the standard says, hang on a minute, we need to think bigger. We need to think like any potential buyer in the market and consider all the possibilities.
So IFRS 13 gives us this neat little three-part test. The value has to be based on a use that is 1, physically possible on that piece of land, 2, legally allowed by zoning laws, and 3, financially feasible, meaning it could actually generate a decent return. In our example, building a huge office tower would almost certainly generate the best return. So the fair value of that parking lot isn't based on parking cars at all. It's based on its incredible potential as land for a skyscraper. That's its highest and best use.
Okay, so we've been through definitions, frameworks, hierarchies, the whole shebang. Let's zoom all the way out and ask the big question. Why does any of this actually matter in the real world? Well, the standard's mission statement is written right there in black and white: consistency and comparability. That's the whole game. The entire goal is to create a level playing field so that the word value means the exact same thing whether a company is based in London, Tokyo, or Rio de Janeiro. The key was to create one single, all-encompassing framework. You see, before IFRS 13 came along, the rules for fair value were scattered all over the place, hidden in dozens of different standards. It was a mess. This standard replaced all of that confusion with a single, unified source of truth.
So the ultimate takeaway here is that IFRS 13 is an absolute cornerstone of modern financial reporting. It's what builds the trust and transparency that allows an investor to look at a company in New York and a company in Singapore and truly compare them apples to apples. And that trust, well, it's the glue that holds our global markets together.
IFRS 13 gives us this incredible, logical framework for capturing value at a single moment in time. But in doing so, it also kind of reminds us that value is always moving, always changing, which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In a world that never, ever stops changing, is any valuation ever truly final? Or is it just our best possible snapshot of a single moment right before the next one begins?